Hi, here at RSA 2024 with Kayne.
Hi there.
Hey, Kayne, how are you and what do you do?
I am the field CISO for Hyperproof, and Chris, I'm glad to be talking to you again. I think the last time we did this was at Black Hat last year, yeah?
I think it was, and I might have forgotten, and some people might not have seen. What do Hyperproof do?
We do regulatory compliance and tethering risks to controls so that companies can quickly assess how effectively they're managing their risk portfolio and communicate that to both regulators, investigators, as well as their own board of directors.
That's really interesting. Something I hear a lot is people say that, hey, compliance, data security, oh my goodness, it's so hard. Either they perceive it to be hard or it actually is hard. You know, what are your thoughts on that? Is data security that hard? And if so, what is it about it that is?
I don't think data security is hard. I think communicating the business value of it is hard. For years, we've had this perception that data security is a cost center that money goes into and tears come out of.
Yep.
And ultimately, that's not the narrative we need to have anymore. And I am partially to blame as a CISO for saying that cyber risk is a thing. Like my generation of CISOs, we wanted to be special and say, cyber risk, let's worry about it. There's no such thing. We're managing business risks. And the ability of CISOs these days to be able to effectively communicate to their stakeholders and their shareholders in the case of publicly traded companies is to describe how they're effectively and how their teams are contributing to reducing the risk or alternatively allowing their companies to enter new markets. One of our customers actually has found that their ability to understand what controls they already have can allow them to tie top line revenue to given programs, like something like FedRAMP, and say, if anybody asks, hey, why do we have to do these controls? These data security controls are hard, they're annoying. Well, they make us a couple $2 billion a year. Do you like a couple $2 billion? Oh yeah, okay, cool. So we're going to do those controls still, yeah? Everybody goes, yes. Previously, companies have not had that narrative ability or that recognition. Yeah. And the other thing you get is if you take that same evidence of control operation and think about an external audit, the amount of time that it takes to prepare for an external audit. I had a friend on my podcast earlier today whose team saved 1,100 hours a year on auditing because they've got all of their evidence of control operation and compliance in one spot, and they can reuse a lot of the same evidence because cybersecurity frameworks say about the same things 4 different ways. Yeah. If you need to prove, did somebody take training? You do not need to pull 4 different reports that say the exact same thing. Pull it once, reuse it multiple times, and it's so much more efficient.
That was going to lead on to my next question. For you, is there a go-to cybersecurity, information security framework, or what's your feeling on that?
I really, I think that it depends on where you're based more than anything else. So part of my unexpected bingo card for 2024 that I didn't know that I'd have was I read 3,000 10K Section 1C disclosures, and I'm about to publish a cohort analysis of what did people say they did for a cybersecurity framework? Most popular one in North America, not unsurprising, was the NIST cybersecurity framework, followed quickly by ISO frameworks, but that becomes a split of, are they based in the EU or predominantly doing business in the EU but still publicly traded in the United States, or are they predominantly US based? The one that I'm kind of darkly looking forward to seeing in SEC investigation is the companies that said, 2% of companies said, we do the NIST framework. Okay, so which one? Because there's just more than a few. I think it was well-intentioned, but I don't think that it really helped. I think for non-publicly traded companies, I was talking to my friend Charity from the Center for Internet Security earlier today. I really do think the Center for Internet Security's Critical Security Controls Implementation Group 2 is a great place for most companies. That it's very prescriptive, it's very easy to measure, and it's also tremendously easy to understand.
And it links in with the benchmarking guides, which is, again, a how-to, step-by-step, how to test, how to configure, how to do stuff.
Yeah, and it takes it out of the realm of hypotheticals, because hypothetical will not take you very far in practical application.
Absolutely. That's a really great answer. Last question. Last year, we seemed to be awash with AI here at the show.
Oh dear.
Have you seen any crazy AI claims on the show floor, or is it more tempered this year, do you think?
No, I still think there's some crazy stuff out there, and one of the best, worst examples that I've seen associated with AI was a company that's purporting that they can have an AI write your corporate risk register for you, and then they can assign an impact and a materiality and a probability to each of those risks, and then assign business owners, and all you have to do is just click the box. And it's great in theory until you realize a business executive is going to have to approve ownership of this thing that could be a full-on hallucination associated with risks that may or may not exist, which may at a later date be the result of an investigation if that risk actually comes to fruition. I think that kind of thinking is, I understand that it's well-meaning, but I also think that it presents a fundamental misunderstanding of how people work and how law and regulation works.
So and how AI works.
Well, exactly. I mean, something that I'm doing at Hyperproof is I'm kind of being the damp squib. I'm tamping the brakes where necessary so that any work we do in artificial intelligence is intentional and it's built on making people's lives better, not necessarily going after the shiny thing. One of my friends, Casey from Concentric, and I were on stage a few weeks ago, and he gave a really good example. He does a lot of privacy work. And what if you don't know a given privacy framework? How can you get an idea for what would a control be? Like, how could I actually implement it? That's a great use for AI, because it's helped me figure out an idea for a topic that I'm not familiar with. I think that's a great use case. We have customers of Hyperproof that are using AI to summarize large legal documents and large filings to understand, what do I need to do? What does this say? Give me the TLDR. I mean, I do that for all the stuff that I read for law documents and regulatory filings. Yeah. I think that's a good use case for it. Beyond that, the AI stuff that I've seen out here still feels like ML. Like, let's do large-scale data analysis of a potential breach or of signals. That's not AI, and like you've probably tracked Gurwal Gershwin's comments on doing AI washing and how the SEC Enforcement Division is going to lean in on that this year. I think we might see some of that coming out of the show.
Yeah, that's a really great and comprehensive answer. Probably the best so far.
Oh, thank you.
Kayne, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a genuine pleasure to chat to you, and hope to see you at Black Hat and wherever you exhibit.
Fantastic seeing you again, Chris. Always fun to chat.
Thank you.